Good morning and welcome to Trading with Larry. I hope everybody had a good weekend. Back to you Monday. A lot to talk about. I'm joined my cohort in crime, my baby bull over there. Looks like you haven't slept a lot, Eric. Want to tell us? You want to confession? This is Eric Shamalov, who joins me every day. I'm sure he was up trading all night last night. He
You
likes to
guessed it.
do that.
You guessed it.
Yeah. So a lot to talk about. Obviously, starting out with the most important news of the day is the attack on Iranian um, nuclear facilities, three of them. Not really sure 100% how to assess all the damages and whether it's fully wiped out. But one takeaway that I thought was interesting, and then I'll throw it over to you, but they're like thinking they only set their nuclear you know, capacities back 2 to 5 years. I mean, wouldn't you think they would decimate it so that they could never, ever build a nuclear weapon? So I'm a little surprised. And there's been, Trump said total decimation, and the Pentagon is still assessing. So I think it's yet to be determined exactly what has happened. But on the trading level, not a lot. I thought that the over the weekend trade would have had the S&P down 100 handles. It didn't even really open down 50 handles off the straight opening, and then it exploded like it always does pretty much every night, and exploded back and went positive overnight. And it was surprising to me because I think they could have sucked in a lot more shorts if the market had opened weaker. People adding to short positions, people putting on new shorts, but they didn't even give people a chance to get short. So I don't know how much we could run up today because I don't feel like the short base was built enough to take it higher. But I'll throw it to you. You can give your assessment of what you think of the news, and anything around that you may think is important.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Good morning, Larry. I think you're still in New York, right? So
Still in New York.
it's going to be a hot one here today, by the way, just letting you know. But Trump didn't taco this time around. So I think he was feeling the heat on being called taco. Maybe that had a little bit of something to do with the decision making. I certainly hope not, but either way, all weekend long, I think traders were on edge and checking their phone for a little bit of news or information. What's going on with the Strait of Hormuz? Are they gonna close it or are they not? Obviously, talk was that they might. Oil is down on the day. Everything reversed to the upside, and I think the big tell coming into the weekend, there are only a couple of indices that are open. That's Saudi Arabia, the Israeli stock market is open on Sunday, and both were kind of up big last night and yesterday. So maybe that was a tell. But we've seen a lot of war headlines go in a different direction than everyone thought.
No, every war headline is bullish. I've been trading them for 40 years. It's actually kind of bizarre, but it's almost like it does the opposite because we never lose, and we never have issues. So we'll see we'll see how this one shakes out. I would tell you, looking at the Israeli stock market is really not relevant to our stock market or any other stock market pretty much around the world, because in reality, this is the most bullish thing that ever happened to Israel, in the sense that the United States, I think, if you look at how this played out, I think this was all coordinated with the US. And basically, Israel did all the dirty work with all their intelligence and information and unbelievable stuff they have. They knocked out all their radar. They knocked out all of their capacity to be offensive, and basically we flew B-2 bombers in, unscathed without even getting shot at, which is actually insane if you think about it. That no one
They didn't even see them coming. That was the thing. They didn't even see it.
It doesn't matter if they saw it or not. They didn't even put up a shot. So whatever it is, it was set up, coordinated. So I would think it would be very bullish for that market for sure. And I think that you can't really look at the Israeli market. Markets across the board were slightly lower, DAX lower, you know, I would say Asia lower on balance. So markets were very slightly lower. Um, I don't think the story of today is written. One thing I'll tell you that I thought was interesting last night was after the opening, the at the money straddle was $50. That's like the lowest straddle market that I would ever see in a war scenario or a scenario where something could go upside down. So markets are extremely complacent. Not a lot going on. We're fairly unchanged. I do think things could happen here. Like you said, the Strait of Hormuz. What is Iran that much of a paper tiger that they're going to do zero in general? I don't think they can do anything. I think they've been like wiped
That's the
out.
thing. What can they do other than close the Strait of Hormuz?
Well, they could easily do a lot of things. I don't want to, give them ideas, but they could have cell terrorist attacks across the country. I mean, they could do a lot of different things. It hasn't happened yet. The last time this happened, they fired ballistic missiles at the U.S. Bases in the Middle East. It took 4 days to do that. I think they're wiped out. But what's interesting is this probably should have went on 10 years ago. Like, why are we negotiating with them to have nuclear weapons? Like, we should be like, you're too crazy. You're not having nuclear weapons. So, I think that's what's happening. That's the positive here. The negative is we don't know what's going to come out of this. What I think is interesting is the responses from other countries have been very muted and very nothing. You see nothing from China, nothing really from Russia, you know. Um, so
That was the surprising part. The fact that China and Russia haven't really been in a rush to come to the rescue for Iran.
no, I don't even know if they're on Iran's team, to be honest. I mean, they're on. I feel like they're on their own team. Listen, if you really sit back and think about it, it's being run by an 86-year-old guy. It's like I spent the day with my mother yesterday. God bless her. Okay, she can't be running a country. That I can tell you. Let her own running her own house. So you got an old man running this country. They've wiped out. They've wiped out the entire military, pretty much of leaders. So there's nothing there. So it worked very beneficially. To the United States. You know, we'll see. We'll see what ends up happening here. It's kind of disheartening because I felt like the market wanted to go a little bit lower after this expiration. Classic quad witching expiration where they cashed out the front month future very, very high and then sold the market off significantly, and that future spread went to like over $100. So that was a really good trade. Um, but overall, I don't I don't know. I think the one trade I'm seeing a little bit clearly is dollar supremacy. So that's the one thing that I'll say may come out of this is that people may want the dollar because of the way we perform this I guess attack. you'd call it or whatever. So maybe dollar strength, oil. I, I am not bearish on oil. I see it's down. I think it's just the culmination of the fact that everybody was so nervous. It was trading over $80 in the third market on Saturday and Sunday. Now it's $73. I don't think it goes. I don't think it goes much lower for the moment, but we'll see. Gold lower. You thought that was gonna rip. That thing didn't do anything. Again, mid range.
Okay, well, I think we have some. I don't want to even call it technical difficulty. It's more like a fire alarm in Larry's hotel room. But I guess I'll continue. And Larry was talking about oil before the fire alarm. So oil. Interestingly enough, at the open, that was pretty much the high of the day. Complete reversal in oil. We had a couple of those. And for anybody thinking to short oil, I had one experience. I remember going into the weekend short oil, and a couple of missiles. I think it was from Yemen hit Saudi Arabian refineries. Oil's up 20% on a Sunday. It was not a good experience. After that, whenever I want to go short oil, I hedge it with call options. But I do not like being short oil into weekends. Not that this is a weekend, but there's so much geopolitical risk around that kind of trade. And, you kind of look at it technically, it's so tempting, but it would be a very, I think, risky kind of short um, for oil. But the markets unbelievably have this propensity to just climb every single brick in the wall of worry. And another big one that they climbed again this weekend. It's going to be interesting to see now, as Larry said, with quad witching out of the way. There was a lot of anticipation with quad witching last week, and it was a very strange one because Juneteenth was sandwiched in between all these economic numbers, and then you had quad witching on Friday. You had the Fed last Wednesday, and then you had Juneteenth kind of sandwiched right in between. So the thought was that we would get all of this volatility as people are kind of rushing out the door to roll their positions. That didn't happen. We didn't get any volatility. Uh, there was the thought that we would get a lot of volatility if the U.S. joined the fight against Iran. That didn't happen. So just a lot of narratives continuing to be really torn to pieces as the mainstream thought just continues to be proven wrong time and time again. But look, taking a step back in the macro, it's kind of difficult, I think, to find a trade to really sit on and build a position on. From you take a look at the market from one hand, it's higher, it's almost at all-time highs, but the way that it's been trading, the market's overall trade location and positioning kind of makes it difficult to go long. Being on the short side, countless narratives, like I said, keep getting broken. So
Oh,
maybe no man's
you're
land for a while.
that.
Larry, I was saying, kind of difficult to find a trade in the macro
Yeah,
space right.
it's been very, very difficult for very, very long. It's been almost 2 months of not seeing really good action, not seeing really good trading. Um, we have to, you know, uh, we have to see how everything shakes out. I think today could be an interesting day. I'm just, where's the straddle? Can you pull the straddle?
Yeah,
It's
give me
got
a
to
minute.
be dead. Um,
Where do you think it is?
Under 50. I don't know for sure, but under 50, I mean, we're dead. There's no trading. I mean, the market has an inherent bid continually. Um, until we get below 5,800, which I think we will, okay, um, there's not a lot to do. I mean,
35. Straddles at around 35.
yeah, it's this. Are you sure about that? That's the deadest I've ever seen it. I don't think we've
Yeah.
ever had a straddle that low. So, oh, come on.
What's going on there, man?
I don't know. Can you hear some? I don't even know.
Are you smoking in the non-smoking room?
Hopefully, no. Hopefully, the place isn't burning down. I think. Hold on.
Good morning. This is your fire safety director. We have an alarm, an accidental alarm. Please disregard all alarm systems and lights
Mhm.
and get back to your regular activity. Thank you.
Oh, beautiful. All right, it was a false alarm. I'm safe. But anyway, I don't see a lot of anything out there. I'm seeing the dollar trade a little bit clearly here. I think you may catch more of a move here. Um, but again, it's just not doing anything. Things are not really moving much. I mean, to have a $35 straddle today is so disheartening. You don't find that?
Yeah. From the get-go, it just the writing was on the wall last night that this stuff was going to reverse. So I'm not sure what today is going to create the
Yeah, but
volatility that traders.
when you say reverse, okay, what do we reverse? We open down 50 handles. It's not even a percent. Like we weren't even down a percent off of this.
Larry,
We bombed
everybody was thinking 100 points down, $10
minimum,
up.
minimum 100. I thought minimum. I had stops down there wanting to add to short positions, and they never even came close to getting hit at all. Never close. So, I don't know. Spoos up seven handles. It was down 50. I mean, we bombed the country. I know, I know it doesn't matter because I guess they're a paper tiger, but I don't get it.
Look,
I honestly,
the thought also was this is the beginning of World War III. Kind of doesn't look like the beginning of World War
who
III right
thought
now.
that I don't think anybody thought at all. Nobody thought that.
Well, people thought, okay, China's going to get involved, Russia's going to get involved. They're
First of
staying
all, who
far
thought
away.
that Russia can't beat Ukraine? So how are they getting involved? They can't even win that. They're not getting it. I mean, I don't even think that was a thought in the thought process, to be honest with you. I mean, there are a lot of other thoughts I had, but that wasn't one of them. You know what I'm saying? You thought Russia was going to get involved?
Oh, I thought more China would at least be a little bit more
Why is
vocal.
China on Iran's side? I don't even understand. What's the reason? I'm
Listen,
not.
they would take an opportunity to position against the U.S. I mean, you have the number one and two world powers
I think. Listen, they
right
don't
there.
need that to position against the U.S. I mean, just my opinion. I mean, I don't see a lot, there on that. But again, we'll have to see how how everything parses out today. Day hasn't started. It's a little disheartening that the straddle's so low. Um, uh, the thing is, like, what's the next move here? What could happen? Like, Okay, we knocked out their nuclear capacity. Okay, so what does that mean? Like, does that mean we want to get rid of their government? We just don't want them to have a nuclear weapon? Wait, we've been dealing with them in a peaceful way for years, having inspectors go in, having meeting after meeting to, slow everything down, and then in one day we decimated them. So why do we wait 10 years of this nonsense, or 15 or 20 of this nonsense, when we could have done this a long time ago? And I think the Israeli government woke up the United States to this idea. I mean, that's just my opinion. That's what I see. And it's kind of it's kind of unbelievable if you look at it, that it's taken this long to make this move. And now the question is, I mean, come on. You think if they close the Strait of Hormuz or whatever, so that oil gets backed up, that we're going to bomb Tehran? I mean, I don't see that. I don't see that at all. So I know Trump's threatening that, but that is something he can't do. I mean, he just will not do that. There's no way that this country is going to let him get away with something like that. That's just my opinion. So I don't know the next move here, but it's going to be very, very interesting to watch what goes on here, what the next move is, if there is a next move. I think the market is pricing in that there's no move coming. There's no retaliation from Iran. The Israeli conflict with Iran is simmered down a bit, obviously, because Iran has nothing. And the question is, regime change. I want to ask you a question about this. Like, remember Assad was running Syria for 30, 40 years and they threw him out? Like, I've never heard one word about Syria since he's been out. Who's running that? It's running by itself. It's a rogue
I
government.
think it's an ex-ISIS guy.
Yeah, whatever. Listen, the world is in an interesting place. It's trading's just been, like you said, it's very tough. Like, like your favorite is gold. Where's gold? Think about where's gold? Gold's nowhere.
Gold,
It's in the
gold's
middle of
in,
nowhere.
yeah, no man's land. A lot of things. That's what I was saying. A lot of things are in no man's land.
Well, I don't think the dollar's in no man's land. And Bitcoin, even though it's showing up 2,000 points today, is really down over the weekend 3,000 points. Okay. So Bitcoin got smashed over the weekend, and somehow, what did they say in hockey? Kick, save, and a beauty. They somehow saved it again. That thing looks weak to me. But,
Really, I thought it looked strong last night.
how is it
Came,
strong? What's strong
I
about it?
think it, I think it looked good last night to
Um,
buy it
why don't you
at around that.
overlay it? Why don't you pull up a chart? That chart doesn't look too good to me. Looks like it go to 90,000. But anyway, it's just, I mean, it's a very hard instrument to look at because it's actually down from Friday's settlement, but up from yesterday. So is it really up or down? I would say it's down.
Yeah,
Um,
I would say
so yeah, and I don't know. I'm looking at micro strategies down 2%. I think this thing goes lower, but again, uh, it looked very interesting last night, and then it stopped on a dime because you think it's non-correlated to the S&P, and I think this is literally one of the most correlated assets to the S&P that I've ever seen. I mean, it just sells off when we sell off, and it rallies when we rally. But it's a no trade at 100,000 or 101,000 for now. We'll see if the market holds up, but I'm
how high. I'm just looking at a chart of the dollar. Looks like maybe if what you're saying is true, it's going to rally here. Then April lows, June lows. That's a double bottom potentially. How high do you think the dollar could go?
I don't know. I mean, against the euro, I'm short it. We're up a point and a half on our trade, which is good. $1,500 per contract. Um, we have an out at 2,000 a contract. I'm thinking about moving that because I think we may catch a bigger move here. It's just that I'm not really sure on the equity front what's going to happen here. I think the market's extremely complacent where we are right now to what could happen, and you know you talk about geopolitical. Geopolitical has been taken off the table. I mean, you could see that straight away. Nobody's afraid of anything. So there is really like, what's the next geopolitical thing? I mean, they were so worried about us attacking Iran, and it took literally 10 minutes, to wipe out 3 facilities. So I don't think I think there's, people have taken the geopolitical piece out of this. So it's it's we're stuck in no man's land. I mean, like, I don't know. Like, look at Nvidia. I mean, Nvidia is near the highs of the move, but you want to know what? It's up on the highs, but it hasn't gone anywhere in a year. Literally, the net change in Nvidia over a year is up 7%. It's still good, but it's not moving. Like, we got to find places to make money, and I'm having a hard time really finding those places. You know, I don't know. Oil's probably run up a bit. I don't know if there's anything left in that. I'm not sure. I don't know if you're seeing areas to make money.
No, I'm waiting for opportunities intraday right now where the market kind of stretches itself out a little too extreme in either direction, and I'm just assuming that there's going to be reversion on that move where net just nothing is going anywhere for a while.
Yeah.
So it's almost like every day you got to be looking to go both ways, sell call spreads and put spreads, iron condors, right? That's the kind of market
All right, dude. Okay. I don't
that's the
know.
kind of
Iron condors. I don't like an iron condor when the straddle is $35. I don't know what you're getting on an iron condor, or how far you can go out of the money to make money. There's nothing in the options. It's all risk, I think. Listen, if you get out of the gate like last night, there was some premium to be sold.
yeah.
But right now,
Yeah.
there's no. The iron condor is a very, it should work, but it's a risky trade, and I don't know.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's the only thing that has been consistently working. Yet that has been like when you put it on, it feels extremely risky
Well,
because a 30-point
in
straddle, 35-point straddle,
in
that
in
could get taken out so quick on a headline. And what you're
yeah,
really
but in
hoping
full
for,
in full di- in full
there's no headline.
disclosure, in full disclosure, um, you know, uh, about 2 3 weeks ago, that stuff wasn't working at all. We were losing money doing that stuff. They were not hitting up. Now it's hitting up a bit. So we have to respect it, and sort of see what's going to happen. But overall, I just don't see anything that's overly exciting. The dollar I am focused in on. I like that trade. I think oil can be bought um, on down moves. The only thing is the question is this thing over? If it's over, you're buying something that probably is going lower. Um, once the thing ran up from $60 to $73 on the fact that they were worried of disruption in crude oil, and that's not the case. That has not happened as of yet. So it's still out there that it can, but overall, you know, it's run up. So yeah, buying a dip may be okay there, but you got to be very careful because if there's no shutting the Strait of Hormuz or retaliation or anything like that in the next week, that thing is probably heading into the mid 60s, right? I mean, probably not, but it's possible. So I don't see anything there. Gold, we've already discussed. I actually think, gold and Bitcoin lower. Um, I think the interesting trade, bonds are interesting. They've been both sides of unchanged, and now bonds have caught a bid. So, it's funny. Like my board this morning was all red. S&Ps were down, Nasdaq was down, oil was actually down, and bonds and 10 years were down. Okay, gold was down, still down a little. My whole board is red. Was red. Now it's all green. The whole board's green. So we flipped from red to green on pretty much everything, stuff that's non-correlated. But overall, like we said, looks like you know a quiet day unless there's some news that hits the market, and the market wants to go higher for the time being. But that's how I see it. So the only place I'm focusing on is the dollar. I think it'll get a little bit stronger. Keep an eye, on levels in crude oil to buy a dip, depending. I don't know if you're seeing anything on your end.
Yeah, I'm just kind of fixated in the macro again. It's all a lot of news, a lot of hype, a lot of noise, but markets aren't going anywhere. I'm just kind of thinking that continues until it doesn't. But right now, you look at the market the last month and a half, and it hasn't done anything. Um, I feel like the market is kind of jammed up here. People were forced to buy higher, and now everybody's stuck in no man's land. But one area that's interesting, I think, is Coinbase and Circle have really come up big. Circle after its IPO has gone up. What is it, like 300-400% or something like that? So I think there's a little bit of hype built into Circle here.
Let me ask you a question. What the hell did they do to be a 60 billion or $50 billion
Like, yeah,
company? I don't even
look,
know. It came at 3 billion, and now it's 50 billion. So I don't know. They became an
I
amazing
don't
company
mind it being
overnight.
60 billion. My thing is, why is it? You compare it to Coinbase's market cap. It's
It's
it,
almost
it,
the
it
same.
has
It's
it's
almost the
it's
same.
almost the same. It's kind of I'm kind of looking at it like something doesn't
Yeah,
make
but I don't
sense.
think they're in the same business, to be honest. I don't know exactly what Circle
Yeah,
does,
but
but I
Coinbase gets a revenue share from Circle. I think it's something like 10%. So
whatever it
just
is,
that.
I just don't know Circle's business. It looked like they, do other things.
It's a relatively simple business. They have the stable coin USDC. They take dollars, put them into bills, 90-day for the most part, and that's their business pretty much.
So why is it worth $50 billion?
It's a good
There's
question.
got to be more to it. But what we'll get, what? Maybe we'll get Touchdown T or Clint to do some research on what Circle does. Maybe have something for the next podcast or the podcast after, because it would be interesting to see. I'm a large holder of Kraken, which is a crypto exchange that is not public, that does massive volume, and I think is extremely undervalued in the pre-public market, but it doesn't really have a bid. And I'm just trying to figure out what Circle does to make it, go from $20 to $200, in a couple of weeks. So, we'll get something on that in the next couple of podcasts, and really, not a lot going on. With a $35 straddle, it's a little bit disheartening. We're coming into quarter end of a very good quarter for the market. Kick saved from the depths of despair in March. to have a very strong quarter, and we'll see if this stock, we'll get a good read what the quarter end looks like, a couple of days before, and we'll let everybody know what we're seeing on that, which I think is very valuable. And really, that's all I'm seeing. It just seems like the market has an inherent bid to it. It always does. Bid is back. I was very surprised last night and happy because I was going to add to short positions down there. And if we ended up being down where I thought, it would not have been a good trading day for me today. But we never got stopped in. So we're fairly okay. We were up decent money and we've given most of that back, but at least,
That's funny. You usually don't like to sell the whole. What would have made you want to sell that whole last night?
oh, because I was already short. I wouldn't sell a whole. I wouldn't sell the market down 100 unless I thought the market was going lower and I was already short. So I was pressing the short. But it never materialized. And then the market, obviously looking back on it, it would have been nice to cover, but we were only down like for a second, we were down like 50 or 60, and then we were literally only down 30. Like that's not even an anything opening. So they didn't even give you a chance. They didn't even give you a chance to sell yesterday. So I thought that was interesting because I think a lot of traders, and you keep saying this thing and I don't know if it's true or not true, that public is, that everyone's long at bad levels. I don't know how you say bad levels when we're at a high of the entire move. I don't know how it's a bad level, but if in fact levels, you would have seen more selling last night, and you saw no selling. So that's the interesting thing. So, and the thing is, you're saying they're long at bad levels, but what bad level could they be long at? I'm just curious. Like, what if they bought it at 5,900? They're up money. If they bought it at 6,000, they're up money. They're up money at every level. So, like, what's the level? Like, my level is 5,800.
That's the level. I think they were
Right, but you're
buying between
saying they're long at
58
bad
and
levels. They're not long at bad levels if the level is higher. They're long at good levels. I wish I bought at 6,000 or 5,900 or 59 and a quarter. So they're not long at bad levels. They're long at higher levels, but I wouldn't call them bad levels. Um, so we know the levels that we're looking for, but I just, what's going to get natural trade could get us there, for sure. But I would say to you, um, the most important really thing is that there is not, I mean, we literally struck Iran and the market doesn't care, right? Which it probably shouldn't, but it doesn't care. But doesn't that set up a little uncertainty that something may happen? Nothing. It's 100% that nothing is going to happen. I don't. I'm not so sure about that. So we're gonna play defensive here. I like the dollar for a little bit. It's a little bit of contrary to the market, but I like that trade. I like oil if it comes in a little bit more. This could be a good level, but even like if you get 72, 71, that's a good level. Um, but that's really, pretty much what I'm seeing. I don't know if you have anything that you're looking at to sort of, end up the podcast on.
for for the market. It's wait and see for today. We're basically unchanged since last Friday, as if nothing happened, and I want to let the market make a move before I make a move. Pretty much today.
Well, what
Wouldn't be
does that?
surprised.
What does that mean? That's a new one. Let the market make a move before I make a move. Okay, so let's
Meaning, I'm
let's
not
say
looking
the
to
market
sell.
goes down. Let's say we
When we get
open.
the open.
let's say we open up 4 handles, 7 handles,
Not,
3 handles, and then
not,
the market sells off 40 handles. What's the move you're going to make? There's no move
I'll
to
be
be
looking for.
made. I'm,
You want?
you know,
I would want to revert that. I don't think the market is going anywhere today.
okay.
I
Well,
think it's
listen.
going to fake everyone out, and that's almost like what I'm looking for. I'm looking for this market to continue faking everyone out.
So that means if we go up, you want to sell. If we go down, you want to buy.
That's the bias. Yep.
All right. Well, listen, I don't see a trade there. I would be leery. I think this opening is not great for the market. I mean, it's fine, but I mean, eh, why are we better than we were on Friday? I don't get it. The bottom line is, we struck a country. We don't know exactly what we did. We don't know what the retaliation is. We don't know if they're going to, close the Strait of Hormuz. We don't know if there's going to be terror attacks. We have no idea about anything. So I think the market is 100% complacent here, and we will see how today ends. And Straddle in my mind, I'm going to let you say Iron Condor kind of day because that's what you like to do. Straddle to me is too cheap today at $35. I think that there's a lot of things that could happen today in the market that could cause, some pain and disruption. So, I would be a little bit leery. But like you said, you want to play it, buy a dip, sell a rally. Um, I'm kind of, you know, in that camp a little bit for a trade, but I would use very tight stops. And, again, my number one trade is the dollar long here. And we'll have to see, how it all shakes out. And I'll throw it to you if you want to close us up today.
Yeah. Just be careful out there. There's continues to be a market where any headline could really ruin a trade pretty quickly. So what you can expect, I think, in this market is continued headlines and continued overreactions. And I think those overreactions give you much better setups rather than anticipating the next move. So that's what I'm looking at.
Okay. I mean, I'll close it like this. Very big weekend, a lot of news, very positive, I think, in general, that we did what we did, but there could be negative repercussions. So you have to be very, very careful out there. Um, like you said, news headlines could move the market, but I just don't think the market cares. That's why the straddle, like last night out of the gate, um, trading S&P futures options, which is pretty much, I mean, SPX trades, but it's not that liquid. But those things are really liquid. Out of the gate, they were bidding everything. Vol was pretty strong out of the gate, and then instantly got crushed right after the opening once we stabilized. So, you know, I think that there is not a lot of headlines that could get us going here. Listen, I don't believe Iran is coming to the table to talk about anything because they got nothing to talk about. What are they going to talk about? They blew their nuclear capacity to smithereens, so they got zero. So I don't expect that. And I don't expect them to close the Strait of Hormuz, which they may do, but that won't last very long because we'll go in there and basically reopen it, and they're not going to have control. So, um, I don't see a lot of headlines coming today, and the market, like I said, seems slightly bid. It's funny if we didn't have the attack, we'd probably be lower right now anyway, just because
That's a funny thought. That
y- you
probably
know,
true.
and now that it's over, market's like, oh, it doesn't matter. Just another thing that doesn't matter. But market's very complacent. To have a $35 straddle with this kind of news is very interesting. And really, hopefully we set the table for everybody today. I want to thank everyone for joining us. Again, markets are quiet overall. I, over the weekend, thought that we would have like a crazy podcast, like with crazy moves and all kinds of different things, whether it be oil or S&P, but that's not the case. But I will say my entire board is green. Everything is up. So I'm going to take a picture of that. We'll see if it ends that way. And I wish everyone luck trading today. And we'll be back tomorrow to update today's action and lead you to tomorrow's trades. I wish everyone luck. Peace.